For more than 10 years, I've had the privilege of helping high net worth families protect and make millions of dollars with life insurance, and it's often what separates them from everyone else. Here are the 9 lessons I've learned from working with the top 1% that completely changed how I approach financial decisions. Lesson number 1. They rarely make decisions on their own, even when they could. I remember when I first met Alex and Layla Hormozi. It was January 1st of 2021, and we were talking about fund insurance planning. Now, during that meeting, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of research they did before coming into the meeting. I didn't know much about them at the time. This was before they started acquisition, so I was learning a lot just about their former businesses and such. But during the meeting, things went well. I'm like, all right, they liked everything we covered. This is great. A couple days later, I get a text from Alex that says, I'd like you to talk with my tax attorney. She's one of the best I know and one of the few people I trust with my money. I meet with clients' tax attorneys all the time. Like, yeah, why not? She knew super specific details about insurance products, and she could articulate them better than most experienced agents and advisors that have been in the business for a very long time. When you're making a big financial decision or you're signing a contract and it is not your area of expertise, bring in a third party. This decision is going to impact you in the long run, and it's your money that you're putting into the product or service. Lesson number 2, they are approachable. In 2023, we partnered with acquisition.com. That's when we officially partnered with them during the summer. And I was all happy because we became one of their portfolio companies. And when we first partnered with them, I saw the profit for our company just shoot up to a level I never saw it come anywhere near in the past. But then things got hard because life happened. So in January of 2025, an executive here at our company, her mom passed, and the executive had to take some time off, and that created some extra work, which put a strain on my time. In April 2025, I found out I had cancer, which was not fun. I'm like, I'm 36 years old. How did this happen? But anyway, had surgery, it was successful, and everything should be fine moving forward because we caught it very, very early. But after the surgery, my energy levels were low. And it was really, really hard for me to focus on the business because I was worried. I'm like, well, what if the cancer's still there? What if it comes back? I was doing a bunch of follow-up tests, all that stuff. So my focus wasn't where it needed to be. In July, I had a CT scan and they wanted to do more follow-up tests. But then in August, literally 2 days before my test, it's 7:30 at night, and I get a text that my mom's going into the hospital. From August through late October, she was admitted to the hospital 4 times before they finally found and fixed the problem. And then during that time, my wife's dad also went into the hospital. And then, once that finally resolved, in October, my accountants did a really good job with my taxes, and I was getting a refund. I'm like, sweet, this is great. But it turned out that the IRS thought I owed a lot of taxes that I had never paid because my Social Security number was accidentally used by someone else. And the IRS said, hey, you owe money, and they kept a lot of the refund. So my CPA said, hey, we can fix this, but because of the government shutdown, it's gonna be at least 6 months. It's like, all right, I guess you can't really fight that. On January 2nd of this year, I got threatened by a former business partner about a business dispute. Wasn't fun at all. Tried to resolve it peacefully, but it didn't work. We had to get attorneys involved, go through a bunch of stuff, and it dragged out for about a month, but then finally resolved. But why I say all of that, during that span of time, our revenue was not where I wanted it to be. It went down along with our profits. I was discouraged. I'm beating myself up because I thought acquisition was gonna look at that and be disappointed, thinking, hey, we invested in this guy and then things went down. Like, what's going on? They never made any negative comments, remarks, never talked down, never treated me like I wasn't worth their time. They continued on an extremely consistent basis to meet with me every single week to help to keep the business on track and get through those rocky times. Recently, we changed our cadence to every week, and our revenue, guess what? is picking back up. Going back to the lesson, which is being approachable and treating people right. I'm extremely fortunate and thankful to have partners that are like this, who are at that 1% level. And they've shown that it's really not just about the money. They have lived by their core values, which is treating people the right way. The lesson here is that we want to be approachable and always be kind to others. If you do that in life, you're going to be able to help more people. But if you do that in business, others will hear about it, and guess what? They'll want to work with you, which means you'll probably make a lot more money, and that's how it ties to those 1%ers. It's pretty simple. Just don't be a jerk. Treat people how you want to be treated. Lesson number 3, they say no to huge opportunities, even ones that can make them a ton of money. I remember a client who had a $50 million opportunity. Someone wanted him to come into their company. They were going to give him equity to help them grow the business. And the client knew exactly how to do this, but he said no. The reason why is because that opportunity did not align with his goals. He knew what he wanted, and he just simply said no to everything else. The thing is, when an opportunity comes around, even when it's a really good one, but it doesn't align with their goals, values, or they think it's going to take up an excessive amount of time, I see them say no without any hesitation. So how the 1% stay focused on their goals and just continue to explode in their net worth is they just stay laser focused on the thing that they're very, very good at, and they say no to everything else. That's what I've seen done consistently. And this is the opposite of hustle culture, which tends to say, grab every opportunity you can see. And I get that because I used to do the exact same thing. But what happened is it drained all of my time and energy, and it was really, really hard to focus on my main business because I was distracted by all of these other things. When you're evaluating opportunities, look at how much time and attention it's going to take, and ask yourself, will this take me away from what's most important in my life? Whether that's my business or time with family and friends. And if the answer is yes, and the opportunity is not critical that's presented to you, you might want to seriously consider saying no. Lesson number 4, they are extremely selective about who they work with, and it is not just about the skill. If you could work with an expert who could get you high returns and make you an extra $1 million per year, but they were extremely difficult to work with, would you work with them for that extra 1 million? Say it was extra 10 million. Would you do it? I wouldn't, even if I'm broke. I don't care how much money that person might generate for me. It's not worth the stress to me. The 1%ers I know work with people who have the right values, communicate things clearly, and are also easy to work with. If you don't like the person that you're working with, or they don't communicate things well to you, you're probably not going to like working with them. Look at the people you're working with and ask yourself these questions. 1, are they good at what they do? Because they have to know what they're doing. 2, are they easy to communicate with? And 3, when an issue does come up or you need to stop using them for some reason, can you do that without you feeling awkward and without them feeling awkward? Lesson number 5, when I think of the majority of higher net worth clients that I've worked with over the years, most of them have always asked for references before they put money into any product or service. It's very beneficial to speak with references because you'll hear their experiences, especially if they're in a similar position to yours, or maybe they were when they first started. Now, when you're working with anyone, I would ask for several references and be prepared with the questions that you want to ask them. You can ask, what questions did you ask Steve before you started working with him? Would you do anything different? You'll get different feedback from different people, but it's nice to speak with references because guess what? They don't have a financial incentive to sell you anything. Lesson number 6, they do not make emotional decisions and they build systems to prevent it. Our biggest client is a bank. They've got about $1 billion in assets. Anytime I present a product or strategy to the CEO and CFO, they might like it and say, this makes sense, let's do it right now. But They can't do that, even though they're the ones in charge. The board needs to review everything and approve the decision before money goes anywhere. When I first met with Acquisition, because I wanted to be a portfolio company of theirs, and I knew Alex and Layla, but their rule as a company was that the entire board had to unanimously agree if any portfolio company, along with the founders, was a fit for them to take on. Create a simple system that says, for any purchase above a certain dollar amount, I have to wait at least 24 hours. And I need to get input from at least one friend. And if it's a very large dollar amount, you can decide the number up front. Then you might give yourself 72 hours. Lesson number 7. A lot of people with money do have an ego, but a lot of people with money also don't have an ego. They can often admit where they're wrong, and they don't let pride get in the way. Having an ego is expensive. You end up fighting over stupid stuff that wastes money, but more importantly, it wastes a ton of time and energy. So here's what I would do to prevent an ego from creeping in, because it can happen to anyone. I would practice saying things like, I was wrong about that. Or, you know what, you're right, I didn't think about it that way. Do this with small things first, and then it's going to be a lot easier when the stakes are higher. Lesson number 8, clear communication isn't just nice to have. It's how you avoid losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to misunderstandings. I'll give you an example of this that happens in my industry all the time. Take a whole life insurance policy with Mass Mutual. People often think that they can put money into a whole life insurance policy and see their money grow by 6.60% because that's the dividend rate. It doesn't work that way though. When you start a whole life insurance policy that's set up for maximum cash value, the first year, you'll see a negative return because you have the cost of insurance. After 3 to 5 years, you'll finally see what is called your break-even point, which is the first year the cash value is greater than the total dollar amount you have paid into the policy. Then I'll show them an example of the illustration, and I'll also calculate the return with them so they can see exactly what the money is growing by every year. Whatever you're communicating, make it clear and make it concise. People will respect you more, and they will want to work with you more too. Last lesson, once they decide yes or no, they move. Most highly successful people I know make a decision, and once they make that decision, they move. Imagine that there is a 50% chance that there's oil underneath your home and 2 of your neighbors. Whoever gets to it first is going to get all of the oil. But what you learn is that it will cost all of the money you have. So it's a big risk, and your neighbors are in the exact same position. Neighbor number 1 says, no, I'm not digging. It's not worth the risk, and I'm content with my life and how things are right now. Neighbor number 2 says, yes, I'm going for this. If I don't, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. He immediately spends all of the money he has and starts to dig for that oil. And then there's you. You say, man, this could really make me rich. But at the same time, it could bankrupt me. I don't know what to do. You go back and forth in your mind and you can't sleep. It's difficult. Who has the most stress? Neighbor number 1, number 2, or you? It's you. Number 1 said no. Number 2 said yes. They both know the pros and cons. You stalled, you couldn't make up your mind, and you lost sleep. The lesson here is that once we make up our mind, we want to move. So here's what I would do. When you make a decision, do your very best to stick to it. And if it's really hard, try writing it down and commit to not looking at that decision again for at least 30 days. Those are my 9 lessons that I learned from working with the 1%. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, make sure to watch this video over here.